Hello, welcome to yesterday's Airlines. It never seems to stop. 400 scale is in full bloom, producing models all the time. So that even though it is Christmas period, there have been two new release set announcements, one from jcwings and one from Models. Now, I haven't done the video for the jcwings releases, which came out, I think, last week, right at the end of December, just before Christmas. Just too busy to do them, but frankly, you're not missing a huge amount. The release set wasn't especially exciting. Quite like the China Airlines MD-11 and I guess the Brunei 787 too, but most of the rest is really not particularly thrilling. So anyway, I'm not going to do a video on that one, so apologies for that. Just haven't got the time to do that. But I will take a look at the NG models releases for January, which were announced, I think, yesterday or the day before, possibly. Anyway, not very long ago. I have to say, as I think I've probably been saying in the videos recently for NG, that I can't be particularly thrilled by the models that they're actually announcing. There are a lot of repetition and not the sort of diversity that I've come to expect, to be honest, from NG models. And I'm not the only one who's saying this kind of thing. I've seen other people make this point, and to be honest, once again, this month's models are a little bit of that. They're a little bit more. There are less models than there have been previously, only 13, and that is because of the upcoming Chinese New Year period. So, yeah, let's get on and have a look at these models and see what NG are offering us for January. Before I get into the rankings though, obviously, please subscribe to the channel, chuck a like on the video, and check me out on Instagram, YouTube here, obviously, and Facebook, at Yesterday Airlines, at Instagram and Facebook. Yesterday'sAirlines.com, as I always say, that's the hub of everything I do. And yeah, don't forget 400 Scale in Detail as well, which is a great Facebook group for you to get the lowdown on the models. Okay, guys, thanks very much. Let's get into the ranking and see, which of these I think are supersonic. Okay, so first up is a B-Reg, and there are quite a few B-Reg aircraft this month, which is a little unusual for NG. NG don't produce that much Chinese, which is surprising, and for me personally, a little bit disappointing. But even though there are quite a few B-Regs this month, they're not particularly exciting. There's not a lot of diversity here. And we start off with an illustration of that. This is an Air China A321, registered B1638. It's an A321 CEO. It's wearing the CFM engines, not the IAEs. It is the 22nd Air China A321 that's been made 400 scale. Though I have to admit there is a decent diversity because you've obviously got the different engine combos, sharklets, non-sharklets, and some Star Alliance schemes and such. I'm actually surprised. I looked at my collection. I only own two Air China A321s, which does surprise me. And also, interestingly about this model is that it's never been made before. There's never been an A321 CEO with CFMs and sharklets made in the scale. So it is reasonably unusual, I guess. But I doubt most of you listening will care about that. I doubt Air China A321s are really hitting the spot for yourselves. And yeah, I might get this model because I don't have another. As I say, I only got two, and this is different to the ones that I've got. But yeah, even so, I mean, it's still moving this up into workhorse. It's not really exciting me. There are more interesting Chinese A321s out there that have not been made. Next up is an A320, and this is a model which was announced actually in, I think it was November, as a future release. And I actually thought at the time it was one of part of the releases, so I actually did review it in the November video. So if you want to know what I think about this one, then really the best place is to check out that video. But at the time I put it up into High Flyer, and that's primarily because there have been so few Air France A320s made, which surprised me when I looked that up. There obviously is a companion release to this, which I think the difference was it didn't have the shark clips. This one does. I'm going to put it back in high fly because I did previously. It doesn't seem any reason not to. As I say, not too much Air France narrow body has been made in 400 scale, and though I prefer to see the older scheme from the 90s and 2000s, this newer scheme is quite attractive, and I'm sure that would be or will be reasonably popular with European collectors. Okay, now we've got a run of B-Reg aircraft, but mostly non-airline, which does lessen their interest for me. The first one is a Comac C919. This is wearing another version of the Comac house colours. Basically, it's an all-white aircraft with the Comac logo on the tail and Comac tiles on the fuselage. It's the aircraft is registered B001J. It's the first aircraft that's gone into service. It's not gone into service with that rego. Last month, NG announced the same aircraft but wearing the in-service reg in China Eastern colours, and I gave it a good score because I was interested in that. I'm a lot less interested in this one because it's just another house colours release, and there have now been 20 Comac 919s made. Quite a few fancy models, but several in Comac house colours, and the more exciting house colours than this one. So I can't say that I'm overly interested in this, and it's going to go straight into Workhorse. Following it into Workhorse is another Comac product, but this time it's an ARJ21. B3329 is the reg. This one's it's got basically a Chengdu Airlines base colours, but it's got these kind of test symbols on it and the Comac tail logo. Again, they're really searching out liveries for these aircraft that don't have a great deal of airline operation yet, at least. So this is the 24th ARJ21 that's been made in 400 scale. It's been a little while since the house colours version has been made, but yeah, it's not overly thrilling. Actually, I lie. It hasn't been that while since one's been made. NG made almost the same aircraft as this, almost exactly the same. Not too long ago, looking at it, just didn't have these test black and yellow circles associated with it. So yeah, it's not exciting me, and it's going to go straight to Workhorse as well. Likewise, the next one. This is a military aircraft. It's a Jean Y20. It's wearing low vis. In fact, it's about as low vis as you can get the colours. It's not like the previous releases were wearing high vis colours, but this one is wearing a version of the scheme which basically has the Chinese star logo for the PAL-AAF in just outline, really, and it's not in red as it was previously. There's no other markings effectively on the aircraft. It's really very bland. So it's not a very interesting scheme. Again, I imagine that if you're a Chinese collector of Chinese military aircraft, which I'm sure nobody listening to this video is, then you might find this interesting, but it isn't overly attractive and it isn't particularly interesting. It's really just filling out the roster, I guess, and not particularly interesting. Going to go again into Workhorse. I mean, you could argue maybe these should be gas gullers of some of these, but they are the sort of thing nobody else is making. So in that regard, I don't think they deserve the ignominy of being a gas guzzler. I think the Workhorse is okay, but it's not particularly interesting. And even if I was a collector of house liveries and Chinese military aircraft, I'd probably be questioning whether I really need another one of these. Okay, we get into some wide bodies now. The first one is another B-Reg, and again, it's not particularly exciting. It's an Air China A350. The registration is B307 Charlie. It's the 20th Air China A350 that has been made in the scale. Aviation 400 has been going great guns producing these. They've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've made six house, standard colours A350s. This is actually the first one NG Models has made, so we're giving them a bit of leeway here. Having said that, they did make effectively this model for HYJL wings only recently, and that was released just to the Chinese market. It was registered B307 Alpha, so it's kind of the second but that one wasn't really readily available. So I'll give them a bit of leeway here again, in the sense that they haven't made it before. It is a pretty core release for them, but there are plenty of these running around in 400 scale. I'd have thought everyone's got one, if they wanted one. Hell, I got two. I got the Aviation 400 one, which was supposed to replace the Phoenix version I had, which is now relegated to the model airport and not on display in the cabinets. But yeah, do we need another one? Probably not. But I'm sure it would be lovely, and a little bit of me's tempted because I really like the China A350, but I'm not going to get it. So yeah, it's workhorse again. It's workhorse. And I'm getting a little bit annoyed by some of the way that these models are getting released, and the next one kind of epitomises that. It's in the Lufthansa A3, sorry, not an A3, doesn't really matter those. Lufthansa 787-9, DAPBPD, sorry, DABPD. And that's the only interesting thing about it. It's the fact that it's not the same as the previous 5 Lufthansa A787 releases that have been made in the scale, one of which was by NG models. All the previous releases were showing the first delivered aircraft, ABPA. God, I can't say that. Yeah, there's nothing interesting to say about this. Nothing at all. It's deeply, deeply boring. Why wouldn't you have got the previous release? Even if Lufthansa Fleet Builder, really, are you going to buy another one with just one letter different on it? It's just a waste of time releasing this, but I imagine maybe it didn't sell well and they got some others to rebadge. I don't know, but I doubt it. I get the feeling that NG just feel there's demand, but there's not demand from me. And this one I'm going to put in a gas guzzler. I'm losing patience with these kind of releases. They just seem of no interest and little value to me, which doesn't bode well for the next model, because it's Scoot, which is an airline I don't like because it's just kind of cheap and nasty. Having said that, at least it's not covered in Pokemon. This will be the 3rd Scoot 787 NG have made, but it's the first one we're in the standard scheme. And actually, when I look back through the release history for Scoot 787s, of which there have been 11, though they're not all Series 9s, it's been a long time since someone made the standard scheme. It's been made previously by JC and Phoenix, but that was a long time ago, 2015, presumably when Scoot got there first. So I can kind of see a reason for this. It is a fairly large airline in the area. It is the standard colours. It is a pretty good release, I think, for people. So actually, can't believe it, but I'm feeling that this one probably deserves a bit, to go into high flyer, because it is a kind of core solid release. It hasn't been made for 7 years. But please, NG, no more Scoot. It's a rubbish airline. Okay, there are 5 models to go, and so far, as you can see, I'm not overwhelmed with this set of releases. But the next one is one that I may very well purchase, and that is a Gemini Airlines 737-800 in the SkyTeam colours. It's been made before by Phoenix. I actually own that version. It's okay. It's not great because the mold's rubbish, and Phoenix struggles a bit with the grey colour as well for SkyTeam. It has also been made very recently, probably I think it was last year, by NG Models. But again, like the China A350, it was made for jcwings. It was the first 737-800 that they had released under their own name. It was really hard to get hold of. Even I couldn't get hold of it, and I bought from China quite a lot. It just kind of vanished really quickly. So there obviously was demand for it. HYJL tend to make very small volumes, so it's perhaps good that it's getting released as an NG release. It's exactly the same aircraft, same rego, B5302. And yeah, because I'm actually interested in getting this one to replace that rather poor old Phoenix release. I'm going to put this one up in the high flyer. It's a great model, obviously. It's actually quite a nice scheme with the SkyTeam colours. And yeah, I think this one will be good. Next up is another airline which NG has had some interest in recently, or at least last month, and that's Garuda. And I can see there's going to be more Garuda coming from NG if it follows the pattern that they've been developing recently. This is a second 777-300ER in 2 months. This one is wearing the AO Pakai Masker colours. I'm sure I didn't say that well. So basically it's the standard colours with the COVID mask on the front. It's quite a cool scheme. But we've seen it recently, or we've seen it before. jcwings have even got their model out on this one, and it looks awesome. Phoenix have done one too. It doesn't look quite as nice, but it still looks good. Do we need another one? No, not really. But they did release the standard colours Garuda last month. And surely in the future they're going to end up doing all the retro versions as well, because that seems to be what NG are about nowadays, which is a shame. Just kind of copying a lot of what's been done previously and not really ploughing their own furrow or using their molds in a unique way. So, is this going to be a good model? Yeah, but it's probably not going to be as good as the jcwings version because the mold isn't quite as nice. So, again, I think this one's just workhorse. It's forgettable. Could easily not be released and no one would really miss it. 3 models to go, and they're all 737s, and they're all from North America. First up is a 737-600. It's WestJet. It's registered Charlie Golf Whiskey Sierra Juliet, and it is the second WestJet 737-600 that NG have made. The only difference between this one and the last one is that this one has the updated WestJet logo on the fuselage, which is really not even the titles, it's just the mapley piece after the titles. For WestJet fleet builders, maybe this is going to be interesting. For everyone else, it's completely forgettable, isn't it? There's not really a lot more to say about it. I'm sure, again, it will be nice, it will look good, it's a good mould. But, again, even if I collected WestJet, I'd probably question whether I need to get a second one with almost 99% same livery on it. And for me, that means, again, it's workhorse, so nothing special to see there. And much like the majority of the releases this month could easily not be released and nobody would be missing it, nobody would be crying out for it. Which leaves 2 models from 2 of NG's favourite airlines. First up is Alaska Airlines. It's a 737-900. It's wearing the Honouring Those Who Serve scheme. Alaska is a carrier which NG has been releasing quite a lot of recently. This is the 4th 737-900 they've made for Alaska. They're obviously mirroring a lot of the releases that Gemini have made historically, which must be really annoying Gemini, especially because obviously the NG 737-900 is so much nicer. This model has been also released by Gemini. It was released in 2017, so 5 years ago now, and frankly the mold didn't make it look great. Obviously, you know what you're getting with Gemini 737 NGs. You're getting oversized gear doors, you're getting slightly rough engines, you're getting oversized landing gear and a slightly odd nose. It's not spectacularly good. This one will be significantly better and will be a very worthy replacement for that older Gemini release, I would have thought. And I imagine there is a reasonably strong demand for this too in the States, so this one I think is a high flyer. It's actually one that will probably look lovely and would be tempting for me to get, especially because I really like the Alaska scheme and I like the airline too. But outside my collecting criteria, so stop it, Richard, you're not buying it. Which leads me to the last model, which is the first 737 MAX release from NG models. It is Southwest Airlines, another carrier that NG really, really likes. And it's wearing the new retro rocket, the mustard rocket, or the desert gold as it was really called, the scheme. And it's named Herbert D. Kelleher, obviously after Herbert D. Kelleher, big Southwest man. And yeah, I like the mould. Obviously, I just reviewed it. So check out the written review and the video reviews if you haven't seen those. The 737 MAX mould for NG looks great, just needs a slightly longer nose gear strut to be spectacular. This is a really nice scheme. Love the retro scheme. Incredibly tempting to get this one, even though it's way outside my criteria. like to get it, maybe do a review on it. So I may well get this C, but I think it's going to be super sought after. Nobody else has announced this yet, so it's the first time. It's the only model, I think, out of this entire release set that really stands on its own as unique, and there's going to be big demand, and I think it'll look really good. So this one's obviously supersonic. It can't be anything else. It's a great model, and the sort of thing I'd like to see NG doing more of, really. Actually producing kind of unique aircraft livery combos that other people haven't done. They used to do it a lot. They're not doing it that much anymore. Of course, I should also point out, now we've got through all these models, that there's not a single classic release in this set, which is rubbish. Every month, I guess people are sick of hearing me say it, but there's not even one. These are all contemporary models. They're not even, I had a conversation with Citrus Aviation the other day, and he said that, they consider classic, younger people consider classic to be like in the 2000s, but there's barely even any of these models that fit that criteria. I mean, these are all aircraft that are flying around now, or were flying around in the 2010s. Highly disappointing. NG, start using your molds, please. Start using the TriStars and 757s. Even start using your A320s and 738s for models that are slightly more interesting and diverse than this bunch. Air China, Air France, Lufthansa, Scoot, Garuda, WestJet, Alaska, Southwest. These are airlines that have had huge numbers of releases made for them. And most of these models are just replicas. So it's disappointing, and I hope that NG starts taking on board some of this feedback from people and starts doing more interesting models. It'll be interesting to see. I'm a little bit skeptical at this point in time, but I have tried to nudge them towards doing some more diverse releases using those molds. So we'll see. But overall, it's a weak month. It's another weak month, and the last 3 or 4 months from NG have been not great. All the models will look lovely, I'm sure, but that's not enough. They need to be producing more interesting models than this set, in my opinion. So, there we go. Anyway, not sure if this video is going to get out before the new year. So if it hasn't, Happy New Year. But I'll see you next time at yesterday's Airlines. I'll try not to miss any other release announcement vids. And hopefully there'll be some other video content upcoming soon as well. Might do something featuring the Aviation 400 A380. Got a very special version of that, which has just arrived. But we'll see. That's the future. For now, that's it from yesterday's Airlines. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I'll see you later.